Welcome to the Fullerton Community Center. It's time for another session of Art at Home. Today, we're going to be doing some abstract art. This is a little painting I did inspired by the work of Alma Thomas, a 20th century abstract artist who lived and worked in Washington, D.C. Alma Thomas didn't even get her start in serious painting until retiring from her lifelong profession as a public school teacher. So it goes to show you that you learn things all throughout your life. And she didn't even have her first solo show till she was, I think, 75 years old. So go Alma Thomas. Anyway, we're going to be inspired by her 1972 masterpiece called Mars Dust. And this is a copy of it. And you can see the sort of the abstract shapes, the negative space in between those red spaces, and the suggestion of a dust storm on the surface of Mars. Alma Thomas was inspired by the space exploration of the era, and a lot of us remember the moon landing and some of that really exciting stuff. The images we got back in those ancient of days were really not that detailed. You had to put a lot of imagination into it. So what Alma Thomas was doing in her painting, Mars Dust, is to give you the idea of a dust storm on the red planet and what that might look like, and what that might feel like. And she did that with her trademark shimmering color and repetition. So we're going to do a little bit of that. You ready to be Alma Thomas? Let's give it a try. Well, the first thing you want to do is set up your work area. You will need a little bit of water, and at first just these three, well actually just these two paints. This is acrylic paint. It will stain. I know this from painful experience, so just keep it clean. You do not need anything special other than what is in your bag. You don't need an easel. Just find a big old book that's not too interesting. The State of California 2000 Vehicle Code will do nicely. In order to paint the background, which is suggesting the vast expanse of space, we're mixing a little bit of our dark blue with black and applying it just with a paper towel or a sponge. I mean, if you happen to have a big brush, go ahead and use it. Get that sort of mottled background. Doesn't take a lot of paint. And then before it dries, let it sit for a little bit. Take some of the shine off. And then get in there with a tiny bit of white. We're going to actually blend the white kind of randomly, just to give a suggestion of a light gray blue in the background. And go ahead and let that dry. Should take a couple of hours to dry completely. So now that this is completely dry, it's time for us to do our dust storm. So in preparation for that, run a couple of little tests. What different shapes you can make with your small brush. If you look at the example, you see that Alma Thomas chose almost, I would say, almost brick-like, but not entirely. They're a little more free, but she definitely just used one brush for her repetitive shimmering sheets of color. Okay, so run some tests, experiment, and then go in onto your masterpiece, starting from the top and working your way down while you're building up these layers, your red dust storm. Start looking at the shapes that are being created between the red shapes. See this blue between, that becomes something really beautiful. And if you look closely at the example, not my example, but the actual painting, you'll see, whoa, I went a little off the rails. You'll see a beautiful rhythm in how she's manipulated the blue in the background. It's almost dancing. Almost like you want to be in that dust storm. So continue filling up the surface, paying attention to where you're putting your brush strokes so that the blue in the background is just as important and just as interesting as the red. I want you to notice two things just technically about what's going on here. One is that I'm leaning my little finger against the canvas to try to steady my hand a little bit. And another thing is that I'm flipping the brush, turning it over so that I don't get any globs of paint. I got a little glob action going on in there, but I'm trying to minimize that. And there you have it. beautiful abstract art inspired by the work of Alma Thomas. Painting is completely dry. Finish off the edges just using the flat brush very carefully. Well, thank you for joining the Fullerton Community Center for this exploration in art. Thank you for joining me and Leslie behind the camera, the State of California 2000 Vehicle Code, and our wonderful artist, Alma Thomas. Hope you learned a little something about 20th century abstract art, tried your hand at it. And next time we are going to be doing the work of Romare Bearden. And in fact, the two pieces, this one and our next one, will look really good on a wall together. We are celebrating Black History Month by focusing on these two really important 20th century African-American artists. And I hope you enjoy this exploration. Please let us know what you think, and we will see you next time. Be creative. Bye-bye.